So let's just start at the top. First off, I want to say thank you guys for attending. Again, this is our, as you guys have, I know you guys know me, so we've been, working to build this group, real estate for retirement, real estate investing for retirement. And of course, this is our first official uh, Zoom training. I haven't got to do this yet. So what's happening, Luis? I haven't got to do this yet, so I'm pretty excited to do this. This is my first time. I've shared real estate numerous times with tons of people, even people that are out here today that are on the training. So some of the things you may hear, and you're like, oh, I'm familiar with that. Some of the things you may hear, and you're like, oh man, I haven't heard that one before. So I've helped a lot of Misty and myself have helped a lot of our friends get started into real estate, and we're just passionate about it. So let me kind of start at the top. I usually, because again, like I said, we're recording. Oh, you guys there? Totally just bombed on me. Can you guys hear me? My computer went haywire. I was about to have to move it along. Let me know if you guys can hear me, guys, before I continue on. Still, hit me in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, cool. All right, now I'm about wigged out. My computer just went crazy, so now my printer's up. All right, so here we go. Okay, so everything's internet's been on the fritz out here. We live kind of in the country, by the way, so we have the different kind of internet. We don't have that AT&T. So anyhow, so I'm gonna start at the top. So again, we're recording this. So again, some of you guys already know the story, but those that don't, I want to make sure you guys kind of know a little bit of background about myself and kind of where we come from. So just starting at the top. So Misty and I have been in real estate we started out about 10 years ago. Actually over that, about 2010 is when we started, 2010, 2009, somewhere in there. And we started out with what's called house hacking, and it just kind of came about. So I myself have been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. I dropped out of high school at 17 years old and never looked back. I've worked for myself for all this time. So I love to share that with people to help others go, hey, you know what? I don't have to do that kind of thing. And I can have my own business and do my own thing and enjoy life. And I really enjoy sharing. That's a passion for me to share that with others, to help others along with that too. So, and we get to do it through real estate. So I like to start with a couple things first, especially with this. There are 6 core principles of investing that I always like to tell anyone I speak with about investing, real estate investing, or just investing in general. And I think it's very important. It's done Misty and I well, and I believe it's done a lot of people well. So one of the first things is always do your own research, okay? You guys are here because you're learning more. You're like, hey, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to learn more about this process. And then, of course, become super knowledgeable, right? So you want to be knowledgeable in what you're doing. That comes from books, your investment strategy, how you're going to invest. House hacking is just one way to do that. It's not the only way. It's the way that we got started and the way that I have helped other friends get started. Learn, read, invest intelligently and not emotionally. Okay. Investing, guys, is all about, especially real estate, it's all about investing, not being emotional or emotionally attached to the house. This is part of the house hacking thing you're going to hear too. It's not being attached to that house, because the emotions can mess with us, right? And then one of my favorite, this is a great time. Right now, what you guys are seeing is you are seeing that there are people, or that homes are ridiculously high in the retail market. It's crazy what's going on. Misty and I have been helping, we work with a buyer right now. We are real estate agents, and we're working with a buyer right now. And man, everything's going 10, 15, sometimes $20,000 over asking price. It's crazy right now with the interest being low. So there's that, and right now it's prime time. GameStop. Did you guys hear about GameStop? Hit me in the chat if you guys heard about GameStop. This is a prime example of this. GameStop just shot up, right? People got greedy. They got super greedy in GameStop. This is like, for me, this is rule number 3. It's Warren Buffett's. It's when everyone is greedy, be fearful. And when everyone is fearful, be greedy. Okay. Everyone got greedy on GameStop. And man, right now, and I'm using GameStop as an example because investing is investing, right? GameStop, people are paying for it now. GameStop was like $4.50 and it's dropped down to under $100, and I'm sure it's going to keep tanking. So right now, people are being really greedy, buying up. So sometimes I'm not always in the forefront buying, buying, buying. When it comes to real estate, it's, you have to make the right moves, right? So, when people are being greedy, I'm fearful. When they're fearful, like 2020 hit, we were like, we're buying. We'll take some real estate, please. And then, of course, one of the biggest enemies in investing, I learned this too, is yourself. It's developing the discipline to not buy or sell because of emotion. I can't stress that enough. Okay, it goes back to not being attached to the house, right? You can't get emotional about it because you're going to make bad decisions. And then, of course, the last one on it, and number 6, this applies a lot to stocks, but it also applies to the real estate market. Don't speculate. That's not investing. That's straight gambling. Okay. What I love about real estate is you can go and find out pretty much what you should be at, right? What the value is. Okay. All right. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Everybody, if that makes sense, give me a thumbs up and give me a yes, or makes sense, looks good. But those 6 core principles are important. Okay, they're very, very important, and they're going to hold true for a long time, long-term investing. Okay. So rental properties, here we go. Let me just break this down really, really quick. There's 4 ways that rentals make money. Okay, the first way is cash flow. Okay, so cash flow is huge. You've got to make sure that whatever you're renting this property for, okay, if you're renting the property, let's say you're renting the property or you're buying the property and you're paying $1,000 a month in your mortgage, okay, and then you are renting the property, right? When I say mortgage, that's going to be taxes, insurance, your mortgage payment, which is interest and principal. It's $1,000 a month. You want to make a good spread. So from what you owe to what you're renting it for. So let's say you're renting it for $1,500, but $1,000 is what your mortgage payment is. That's a $500 worth of cash flow. Now, there's things. Make sure you got to keep back. Keep a certain amount for yourself, right? Don't just go blow the $500 because you're going to get in a bind. You got to make sure you have some put back for repairs and things. But that's the cash flow. That's the first way that it makes money. All right. If your property is not cash flowing, it's not a good investment. You need to make sure that it's self-sustaining. That is so important. Okay. And then number 2 is appreciation. Appreciation is one of to me, it's more, I enjoy it more than I enjoy cash flow. I like cash flow, but I love appreciation because this is where you make your money without having to do anything, right? Appreciation is you buy the home for 100,000 and then it goes up to 250,000. You just made 150,000 with just being asleep at night. That was it. The market did that for you. Okay. And especially right now, this market is shooting things up. So the market's doing that. We're getting appreciation. We're making money. Now it's unrealized, right? Until you either sell or, cash out or certain things, but that appreciation is killer. Little tip. Some of these companies like Opendoor, they purchase for appreciation. I personally, I love investing for appreciation. It's one of my favorite things to invest with. Cash flow is great, but I love appreciation because it's just it's the silent killer. Um, and then number 3 is debt pay down. Okay. Now there are 2 things. Okay. Debt pay down. So some people like to buy properties free and clear. Some people prefer debt. I personally I've owned properties free and clear, and I've owned properties with debt. I prefer debt because in my mind, at my age, I'm 35 years old. I am not planning to stop anytime soon. So I'm going to let someone else pay down the debt, right? If it's $100,000 note, if I owe $100,000 in the house, $100,000 in the house, I'm going to let them pay that down. Let the renters pay that down. They're paying that money in your pocket every month, no matter what. You don't have to. That's your retirement. That's why I say it's real estate investing for retirement. It's right there. So let them pay it down. And of course, you don't have to have that. Some people prefer free and clear properties. That's a personal preference. I don't think either way is wrong. I think it's what you prefer. We've had both, and we actually took the money out and went to go get more. Okay, with our paid off properties, we didn't want that. We just said, you know what, we're young, we got plenty of time. All right. But again, you got to make sure smart decisions, right? You're not buying too high, all those things. So tax benefits. Number 4 is tax benefits. Guys, I love the tax benefits of real estate. Okay. It wants housing. Okay. The government wants jobs and housing. And then the real estate allows you to, they give tax breaks for real estate. So real estate gives you fantastic tax breaks that you can really reduce that tax bill. So that's something that's important to understand, that you can really, so if you have a W-2 job, real estate can help. It can help reduce those taxes. If you're paying a lot of taxes, real estate can really help that. All right. And then of course, real estate is more than just passive. It is compounded. I love that part. And that's the biggest thing. It's compounded. It is something that you're going to see, and you're going to, the more properties that you get, remember this, rent always goes up. Okay. Rents don't go down. Rents go up. Think about that for a second. In fact, little trick here. So I'm sure you guys have seen your rent go up. If you ever know what house hacking is, and then of course, how you can do it too. Okay, so let's talk about that. So what house hacking is and how we did it, how you can do it. So I like to teach in stories. Okay, so let me start off with a basic story. So this is the story I always share with my friends that I've ever helped get into real estate. We started out with, when Misty and I met, she had a small home, and it's probably worth, I don't know, I'd say she bought it for like 40, I think she bought it for like 45,000. It was before her and I met. She already had the home. We lived together, we were getting married. And I remember telling Misty, I was like, hey, I always wanted to do real estate. I was like, why don't we rent your home out? Because she wanted to move, and we were going to start a family. And why don't we just rent your home out? Misty was like, you're crazy. I don't want to do that. I'm attached to this home. I couldn't see anyone else living here. And I'm like, no, Misty, let's rent it out. Let's rent it out. It's like, it's a small home. It's about, I think it's like 1,000 square feet. It's not a big home, 3-bedroom. It's not in like the best of neighborhoods, but it's not in the worst of neighborhoods. But it's actually a fantastic rental. We still have it today, and this is many, many years ago. So Misty, after talking with Misty and kind of I don't know, coaxing her into the idea, I got Misty to agree to do that. We bought our next house, and we leased it out. Okay, and we leased it out to one of her friends because we didn't really know. We never had a coach. No one told us how to do any of this. We just said, hey, you know what? You need a house, and her friend was like, I'll take it. And I think her friend lived there for a little while, and then we realized that was pretty simple. We kind of went through the process. Like, her friend's living there, she's paying us every month. We haven't really had any issues with the house, and if there are, Misty jumps on it. We jump on it, we fix it, and I was like, that is so simple. Well, okay, so this is where the next part comes in. So then we decided, well, let's take it a step further, right? So then we hired a property management company and let them manage it. That's how we started. All right, that's exactly how we started. And that was just started with one home. And this is where the house hacking part comes in. There's different ways to house hack. I call it house hacking because it's really simple, right? You're just starting with the one home. A lot of you guys probably live in a home that you own. And if you don't, no worries, but you might already own a home, and you can do things to leverage that. Okay, you can live in that one home particularly, and then from there you can move to another home, and then do the same thing over, and move to another home, do the same thing over, and you keep leasing those out as you go. All right. Now, the reason why we did that was we wanted a bigger home, but here's the deal: because we were going to start a family, we got in, and this is where we kind of started to see the benefits to this, is that we were able. There we go. Computer's going in and out. It's crazy. Can you guys hear me? See if you guys, yeah, hit me in the chat. Say, I can hear you. Yes, you're good. Okay, cool. Man, my Zoom keeps kind of like going in and out. So anyhow, so what we did, we realized by that process that we can, what we can do is we can actually go in with a low down payment, right? And again, no one taught us this stuff. I read some books, but didn't really know much. I knew I wanted to get A to B. And so, we decided to, as we moved, realize, man, like, this was a cheap down payment. All right. We only paid, I think it was like a 3%, 3.5% down payment. And the home we moved into was a $100,000 home at that time, right? Which now it's not that, it's way more. But the point is, you're talking about $3,000, $3,500 down. Like, that's cheap. That's the cheapest way to get into a home. It's ridiculous. Average, if you're going to go invest in a home and rent it out as an investor, you're putting about 20% down with the bank. Okay? And on a $100,000 home, that's 20,000. On a $200,000 home, which is what things have risen to, that's going to be, you're looking at 40,000 plus some fees with the bank. It gets expensive, right? It gets really, really expensive. So an FHA loan, and this kind of goes into like where you can start with the least money down. An FHA loan is 3.5%. Okay, that's the lowest that you can get. That's cheap. Okay, on a 200,000 today, $200,000 home at 3.5%, you're looking at about $7,000. Okay, that's what your down payment would be, and that's really cheap considering you can either pay $7,000 or $40,000, right? Like which one's going to go further? Okay, so that's where the house hacking part comes in, because let's say right now you've been working for some time, or you've stashed away some money. You live in a home currently, or hey, you're ready to buy your first home, right? You get in your first, if you're getting in your first home, you get in your first home, you live there for maybe a year or whatnot, kind of stack a little more money up or whatnot, and then you move from there to the next home, and you buy the next home personally. Is what you do. You buy it personally, and then now you have a rental home. Okay, and you bought that for less than what you're buying the next home for. Okay, and you can recycle that in a year. You can do it in 6 months. You could do it almost, I would say a year is good. I mean, if you got the cash availability, things like that. But point is, every year you can move from one house to the next. Okay, so we house hacked a couple of times, and it has paid off, right? That same home we still have today, just to give an example. And again, I'm not tooting horns. I just want you to see, kind of get your mind thinking about like how things work. That the home that we first started with was about $45,000 is what Misty bought it at. And that home today, if we sold it, it'd be worth about $140,000. Okay. So we just held on to it. And actually, that's one of the best rental properties we have. We want more of those, right? And then the other home that we moved from that home into the next home, we did the same thing. When we moved again, we leased that one out. We bought that one for 100. It's now worth about 250 if we were to sell it on the market. I'm sure we probably get it for more, especially in this market now. So just kind of giving you an idea, like that alone. I mean, you're talking about $250,000 in equity just from house hacking, just going one to the next. Okay. So let's talk some strategy. Does that make sense, guys? What if we really love our current home and don't want to rent it out? Man, here's a couple things. That's something that you can do. There's some ways to leverage that. That's a really good one. And I get it. That's what I was saying too. Like Misty did the same thing. She's like, well, I really love this home. I really don't want to. I don't want to move. Um, it's strategy, right? It's all what you want. For me, those were never my forever homes, right? And even where I'm at now, like right now, you see, I'm at home now. It's not my forever home. I love this home, but Misty and I've always talked. We'll probably rent this out one day, right? We like that method. We feel like it's very, very helpful. But if it's your current home and you love it, you don't want to rent it out, there's ways you can stay there. Okay? There are ways you can stay there. That's actually, I'm gonna throw that out here too, is cash out refinance. I'm gonna talk about that here in just a second. So that's something that you can do. When it comes to house hacking, the reason I like to start with this is because, again, it's the cheapest way to get involved. It does, like I said, if you love the home, it's hard because you're like, I love this home. I put so much pride in this home. Misty loved that home. She bought the home at 22 and just loved it. So I get that. You get attached to it. I was attached to our last home, so it's really strategy, right? It's all what you want to do as far as strategy. So now finding homes. Okay. So where you start. There is, if you guys haven't heard of this, if you have, man, hit me in the chat. If you have, if you haven't, you get to learn a little something. It's HUD homes. Okay, so HUD homes are a great way to, if you don't mind, moving to different locations and things like that, to accumulate homes via house hacking. So HUD is a government. It's basically It's the government selling the homes. Okay, it's a government program, and you they call it owner occupants. When they go on the market, investors like myself, or we can't just go get the house. We have to do. We basically have to wait for the owner occupant period. There is a certain point in which the government says, look, from this time to that time, if you don't live in the home, you can't even get the home. So what that does is that knocks a lot of people out of the running. Now, here's the other thing. With HUD homes are usually cheaper. Usually when you walk in a HUD home, carpet's ripped out, needs some work, and so you're going to get it at a lower price. And HUD, their whole job is housing. That's it. It's all housing. Their whole job, they want you to be in the home. If you use a HUD home, if you buy a HUD home, right, you can go to HUD. It's you can look it up online. You can look up HUD homes online. And you can go on their website and you can look at all the homes. And usually you can bid lower. Okay, that's what I like. You can go in there and you can bid lower on the home if you buy with HUD, right? Versus all the others where it goes in the market. Don't get me wrong, HUD can go fast too, especially in this market. But your ability to get it a little lower is greater. And I'm going to say this too, it all depends on the market. But HUD homes typically will go for less. Okay, so if you're looking for a home, you want to get a cheaper home, go with a HUD home. All right. When you're house hacking, okay, it's kind of that same concept. We walked in a home recently. We were showing a buyer one of our home recently, and this particular buyer, we're helping them out. They wanted a certain level of home already. They want it done a certain way. I walked in this home and I was like, I'm in love. It was like 90s. It was just, I literally, my cash register was ringing. I'm like, this place is going to be great. It needed work. Guys, homes that need work, that's where you get your equity, right? That's where your equity, the amount of money you're going to make in the long haul. You're going to make more when you buy it for less because you got to fix it up. And if you're a handyman, I know Luis is a handyman. Luis can fix things that, that's like 100%. That's great. You're already ahead of the curve, so understand that when you go in, you want to make sure that it's something that you can fix, because otherwise, if you're not familiar with it, there's nothing wrong with starting out with a home that you're not as comfortable fixing. You can buy for what's called appreciation, where you're buying it's kind of already fixed up like a turnkey, and then you just go ahead and move in. Okay, you can do that too. So you can buy for appreciation, or you can buy for equity. Buying for equity is where you got to fix it up. Buying for appreciation, it's already done. We've done both. I'm going to tell you this. If you're buying for appreciation, you're buying for long term. So it doesn't really necessarily matter, right? If you're like, I just don't want to do the work, you're going to pay a little premium for that. But if your plan is to eventually rent it out or whatnot after you leave, it's not a big deal. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. It's all strategy, guys. That's what I love about this, is that my strategy not necessarily is going to be your strategy, but the concepts all remain the same. So no matter what you do, your concept's the same. And that's what makes it killer. Because, for me, like, I have nothing to sell. I just want to teach real estate and show you guys what we've done and help, and you're going to take these concepts and you're going to go, how does it apply to me? Right? I was speaking with one of my mentors today about real estate. They don't do a lot of real estate, and we were missing. I were giving him ideas and do this and that, and he's kind of like sitting back going, man, like, okay, I can do that. It's concepts. That's all it is, right? All right, so Luis, to answer your question, this is it. So you're going to pay a premium for it. I can tell you that, if you're going to house hack. And there's nothing wrong with it, but there's a couple things you can do. You can, tips for getting down payments, right? So versus just running and, your going and stashing your cash away, saving. The tips for one of the things that we've done is a cash out refinance. And what that is you do a cash out refinance on your home. So I'll give you an example. So we have a home that is worth, it's worth 100,000, or when we bought it was 100,000. It's worth 250,000. We have $150,000 in equity, and up to a certain limit, we can go and cash out, right? We can pull money out of that house. Okay. It's obviously, again, you're refinancing, so it's going to raise your your monthly payment. But as long as, I can't stress this enough, okay? A good friend of ours was telling a story. He did this, but he kind of did the real estate sin. Uh, so don't do this, or do this. As long as you take it and you put it into another property, there's nothing wrong with the cash out refinance. But if you take it and you build a pool, which one of our good friends was telling us about, he's like, oh, I built a pool. It's beautiful, but you don't want to do that, because now you've just, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work out as well, right? And so, and not making fun, it's just giving you an example. You don't want to take that money and go pay off this debt or pay this off. It needs to go from your equity from here and transfer it over to here. Okay. I can't stress that enough. Cash out refinances. And a lot of it's just researching, guys. I can say, hey, go to this bank, go to that bank, but everyone's situation is different. You might have a very good situation where you have a W-2 job and you can get a really good rate on a cash out refinance and you can get really good terms. That's not a bad thing at all. Okay. Now, for Luis, another little topic here is if you own your home, okay, and you love it, another thing that I wish we would have learned a long time ago, and we didn't know, Misty and I did not know this until one of our mentors was like, hey, you need to do that. Again, we didn't get mentors till later on, is a HELOC. I wish we would have done a HELOC at one point. We didn't do a HELOC instead we did the cash out refinance. The HELOC, just give you the short run of it, it's pretty simple. Basically, a HELOC is you're going to take that HELOC, you create a line of credit that you can pull out. It's just as good as cash, right? So if we had a $150,000 line of credit on that home that's worth $250,000, if we had 100 or just even 100,000, I could pull it out, put it as a down payment, and then when that property grows, refinance that property, take the cash out, throw it back on the HELOC. There's so many little ways. They're just tactics, they're techniques, they're strategies, right? So that's one thing that you can do, Luis, as far as that. You can go and use a HELOC. You can cash out refinance, you can use a HELOC, and then you can also cash out refinance the next property, right? If you're not one to house, if you're not one to house hack in that manner. So now on to yeah, man, definitely. This is a really great question. Great question. It touched on a lot of good stuff. So on to one of the last things is how do you manage the property? Okay. So first off, I want you to remember this. When you are doing this, you are an investor. Okay. You are an investor. You guys on here, I can't stress enough passive. If again, if you're seeing the recording and we haven't met in person, I own a jiu-jitsu academy. I own another business. I own several other businesses. This is so when we were doing real estate all those years and we were focusing on this and not focusing on the real estate, we were growing it passively. We always had a property management company in place. Okay, now Misty and I own a property management company, right? But before, we had a property management company in place. Guys, I can't stress how important that is, because if you are an investor, you don't want to be dealing with the tenants, the toilets, and the trash, okay? You need to hire people to do those things, because that is going to allow you to be an investor, make the decisions, and have someone else do those things, okay? Not until we opened our property management company did I realize, man, like there's a lot of things that need to go on, right? The property management's on the MLS and, listing it and taking phone calls and things like that. So don't feel like you have to do it yourself. Don't do it. I've as long as we have done this, I have never had to clean up a property. I've never had to do any of the work, and neither has Misty. We don't do that. That is not the business we are in. We are in the business of being investors. Okay. That means your job is to take your money and place it somewhere where it's going to grow and work for you. I can't stress that enough. And I want you to remember this too, as we go further in this. You are not losing the money. Okay. This took me so long to get. You're not losing the money. Okay. If you take that money, if you have $20,000 and you buy a property and it's sitting there, I tell all of my friends that we've gotten into real estate, just drive by the property and you can see your $20,000 as you drive by. That's where it's at. You didn't lose it. Okay. And when I first started in the game, Misty and I, we would go out to eat and go drive by and be like, there's our money right there. They need to cut the grass. Call the property management company. Tell them to cut the grass. So, it's just a mindset, guys. That's what it is. But so anyhow, property management company is going to do a couple things. They're going to help you find the tenants. Okay. That's huge, man. You want someone who has experience with this. Okay. If you're not, because there are certain laws, like in order to manage someone else's property, myself, my wife, we're licensed real estate agents. We're realtors. We do have a property manager that we've hired on our company that he is a licensed agent. They have to be licensed, okay? And which means they go by certain standards. They have to follow the law that you are an investor. That's not your goal, is to go and find out all the laws. You want to be educated. It's important. And your property manager can help guide you to that. That person, our property manager, really helped Misty learn a lot before she actually jumped in and started being a property manager. But you don't have to learn all those things. They can help guide you through those things. A property management company is going to cost you sometimes anywhere between, it could be a flat fee, it could be 8 to 10% of the rent, right? Now you may think, but I want more money. Guys, when you're passively investing, you're not going to make a killing passively investing. It's actively investing is where you make your biggest killing. That's where you like really kill it. But you can make some killer deals. Guys, it is not hard to acquire a multi-million-dollar portfolio. I promise you that. It is actually a lot simpler than people think. It's just buying and holding and sitting on it and buying and holding and buying and holding. It's not hard. It's really not hard at all. But you need that right team. Finding the tenants is important because they're going to help you. They're going to credit check. They're going to background check. They are going to make sure that they give the right deposit or recommendations on the tenant, right? Because the property management company makes their money by placing a good tenant that's going to be there for long term. Okay. And in the 10 plus years Misty and I have been in the business, I'm sure we're going to experience more. There's all sorts of things. We've had 2 tenants where we're like, this person needs to get out. One was a recent, it was just a silly situation, just not a good tenant. And so we removed that tenant, and then another one was years ago. We had a tenant that ripped out all the carpet. Okay, you're going to have things. You need to prepare for contingencies, but because we always had a good property management in place and we always had a good team, that's really helped us. I can't stress that enough. Some people go in, they do it on their own, and they're like, I'm going to go and property manage, and they're going to go in there and plunge some toilets and take out the trash and clean it up. And someone's like, I want the property. And they just get excited and they get emotional, right? They get emotional about their property. And what do? They take the first person that's going to give them $1,500. Okay. We learned that lesson, right? I can't stress. One time, I'm going to give you this story. We had a lady come and she said, and we had the property management company we were working with was new. Like we hadn't really worked with them before. And Misty and I were excited because we're working in our other business. Misty said, hey, we have this lady. She's going to pay $7,000 for 6 months of rent. And I was like, $7,000. This is years ago, right? We were getting started. I'm like, $7,000. That's killer. We took the $7,000. We put her in the property. Again, this is why I have a property management company. Okay. Put her in the property. She rips all the carpet out. About 6 months in, she's a problem tenant. And we said, hey, we need to get her out. And luckily, or actually signed a year, but she paid 6 months up front. Luckily that she went all 6 months, okay, all 6 months, and then right up to like that 6 month mark. And we're like, but she destroyed the property. We don't want to give her any money back. She put a deposit up, all this stuff. She paid $7,000. Well, property code says if she's only in there for 3 months and she has 3 months left, we have to give her that 3 months remaining back. Well, we didn't know that, right? I'll never take that much money up front from a tenant again. I need the ability to get you out, right? But just being new investors, we just didn't know those kind of things. So that's why I say it's good to have that property management team and do it full time. Man, I can't stress that enough, guys. Have them do it full time. Don't Don't do it yourself. Don't do it. They have people that can help. When you are picking a property management company, I want to stress to you this too, that, make sure it's someone that you trust, and make sure that you trust the company, and then do your due diligence, guys. If you pick a property management company, what we've always done and what I advise to anyone, don't let them just randomly do work. If something's wrong, say, hey, you need to contact me if something's wrong, because that way they're not just going to go and pay out any old person to do, fix plumbing or electrical or things like that. But make sure that you kind of rein them in and keep them in, so that you want to be at arm's length, right? And the great thing about property management is you're a passive investor. This is my favorite thing. You can literally stand in the street, and that person who's living in your house that you own has no idea you're the owner, because you're a faceless person. It doesn't even matter. Okay. So that's house hacking, guys. It's hopping from one house to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's using your personal down payment, not going with the 20%, the 20%. And then of course, if you need help on the down payment, or help on down payment, you can do cash out refinances, you can do HELOCs, and then of course, hire a property management company. That's it, man. That's how Misty and I started. And it's so simple, right? It sounds difficult if you haven't done it, but it's so simple. We did it when we were in our 20s, and it's just a simple process. We've helped a lot of people do it. I love helping people. So you guys have any questions? Anybody have any questions on anything?